Welcome to Business of Design. Business of Design is the world's best business training for interior design professionals like you. If you're ready to implement an exact business model for running a streamlined, profitable business, field tested by thousands of design professionals around the world, head to businessofdesign.com and get started today. It's time to dramatically improve your business and transform your life. Business of Design. There's only one.
Hey, you fabulous interior design professional. Welcome to Business of Design. I'm really glad you're here as usual. If you have been wondering how AI is going to impact your design business, I'm telling you right now, you are not alone. And today's guest is going to help us shed some light on that very question. Whether you're excited or curious or skeptical about technology and design, I'm all of those things and so much more. This conversation is going to leave you with an optimistic picture of what the future might look like. So I love that. We are chatting with Nithya Subramaniam. She is an architect turned product designer and strategist at Clarity AI. She believes that AI-powered tools will actually, for the first time probably, help us work smarter and not harder. We've all heard that, but we kind of know it isn't true. But maybe it is true now. She says that AI is going to help us boost our creativity, which I believe, help us save time, absolutely. And it will also emphasize the importance of human touch and impact. So I think that's amazing. You know, if I'm honest, I remember in the early days thinking there's no way technology can replace the heart of design. But slowly and surely, I'm starting to realize that that's not actually the goal. The goal is to back us up and support us. Imagine if AI could handle all the repetitive tasks that you do and answer client emails or help you build strategies for marketing. The truth is it can help you do all that, and it's going to free up your time so you can tackle the creative stuff that is exclusively your magic. And that excites me for sure. And I'm starting to use AI as my design assistant and let AI tools handle some of the grind that I used to find myself kind of stuck in. So anyway, if you were curious about AI, and I think probably most of us are, this is a really good place to start that conversation. And our focus at Business of Design is going to be trying to stay up to date and bringing you the latest tools and technology to help make that transition seamless, if there is a possibility of that. Great episode today. We'll check in with Cheryl Horn for announcements, and then we'll get right into the show. I'm really, really glad you're here.
Thanks, Kimberly. Well, AI has become one of the hottest topics during our monthly BOD live coaching calls with members. Internally, Team BOD has been spending a lot of time exploring how design firms can use AI more effectively, and how we can use AI for improving efficiency, updating systems, and even considering how best to charge for your design expertise as these new tools reshape the way you work. It's one of the core conversations happening right now in our 6-week financial bootcamp, where we're helping designers adapt and grow their businesses with confidence. We'd love for you to learn with us and grow with us. Become a member and join us for our next BOD live coaching call on November 19th. And if you're ready to take things even deeper, get on the waitlist for our next 6-week financial bootcamp that'll be kicking off in the new year. We hope to see you there.
Nithya, we're here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good, and I was really looking forward to this conversation. I have a million questions, largely about AI. I know it's coming for us. I'm not sure, I'm not really sure of what that's all going to mean, but I'm trying to educate myself. So I think this is a really timely conversation. But why don't we just start with your background? Because I think what's cool about this is you kind of know who we are and what our struggles are. And so I want everybody to know that that's where the conversation is starting.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I went to design school. I went to architecture school for my undergrad in India, and I came to the US to do my master's. For a total of 8 years, I studied architecture. in the middle of that, I also went to Spain to work with an architect for a little bit, which I loved. And then I moved to the US to do my master's, where I enjoyed it completely. I did not see myself moving from architecture. I even started work at a firm named Populous in Kansas City for a short while. I moved to San Francisco after that, and I worked with them for a good 5.5 years. We
gosh.
designed spaces that brought people together. So we were doing stadiums, we built arenas, major global events as well, because they are also known for the event side of work where they do sporting events specifically. So I worked on designing for Super Bowl, fan engagement experiences for Super Bowl, for MLS and MLB drafts, where we actually choreograph that experience, but do it at scale. Because you're not just you're doing it for an event in time, so it's for a short moment. How do people move through that space? How do they feel at that moment? How do they engage with the space? All of those things become important. And I think for me, what also triggered this fascination for experience design was when I was designing for something that I couldn't touch, and how technology was playing in to like shape those experiences or user behaviors. And that sort of curiosity sort of led me to question, maybe I need to how can I hone in these skills that I've developed as an architect but bring it to product design and experience. And
But
that's
it
where I
sounds
am
like you had this lifetime in design,
in a very
right?
short moment.
What on earth made you switch after you invested so much time and energy? And I can't even imagine. Like, you're successful. You're doing, I mean, by anyone's estimation, you're doing what you were meant to do.
Mhm.
So how did you switch gears and tell everybody what you do now?
Oh, yeah. So I think, for me, switching gears came pretty easy because I had the best supportive managers in Populous. And I remember bringing it up as a question, I showed so much interest in doing the event side of work. And I think it was like everyone saw my eyes light up when I did it. And versus because I was looking at how that digital experience would be, the same systems thinking, you're still applying the same learnings of architecture school, but it's just applied slightly differently because it's a different media that you're applying it to. But I think that shift was super easy. And when I set out to start looking for roles, I also got super lucky because I literally cold messaged folks, and I asked someone super out of the blue, like on LinkedIn. I just asked her, I said, hey, do you mind? I've never interviewed for this kind of role. I've always done a design interview for architecture roles. So can you help me prep for this? And she was very open about it. And I actually happened to work for her company. That was the first product company that I worked for, right? Right outside.
Wild. That never does that ever happen?
Never happened. No.
Yeah.
My stars aligned in the most curious, extraordinary way. It was fantastic.
Wow. When we design, we don't just decorate rooms, we build and renovate homes. Anyone who's been through a renovation knows this. The wrong windows or doors can undo months of planning. They affect how light falls, how the space functions, even how a family feels when they walk in the door. As designers, we're not just picking fabrics and finishes. We're making foundational choices that shape the way people live. That's why Renewal by Andersen created their interior designer loyalty program. It's not just about ordering doors and windows. It's about giving us the tools and support we need to keep our projects running smoothly. Because when the logistics are handled, we can stay focused on what matters, creating homes that truly work for our clients. The best part? You don't have to go it alone. With a dedicated Renewal by Andersen contact on your side, you've got an expert partner who makes sure the right product shows up at the right time. Projects stay on track, deadlines are met, and the stress dial gets turned way down. Plus, you'll earn rewards and receive exclusive discounts along the way. We build homes. Let Renewal by Andersen help you build them better. Apply today at renewalbyandersendesigners.com.
subject to program terms and conditions.
So then how does AI get into? I love that you said you had to design for things that you couldn't see and touch, which
Yeah.
is different than most interior designers, most architects.
100%.
We could see and touch the final product.
Mhm.
Did that sort of help you transition to the more ephemeral, like AI is coming?
It's so funny when you say that because, to be honest, a lot of people, like your question right now, they think that it would be harder to make that translation because it's something you touch in architecture, you build things, and it takes a certain span of time to actually get that design out there and things like that.
Yeah.
What attracted me to product and AI was the speed of delivery, the nature of design, where you could change things, you could fix things, you could iterate on it. And I think like on an architecture front, it's harder it's not a bad thing, but I think it's a harder thing to do, y- especially when you like reach design development, right? Like you hand off your drawings and it's not like I can go and be like, hey, can I make that tweak? you
Yeah,
you can't. But
too
I
late.
think with product, what is attractive and with AI, what's attractive is this ability to iterate with speed and always address user pain points. So even if I launched features or launched product or launched an experience, there's so much scope to go back to the drawing board
Yeah.
and be like, oh, I learned this new thing about my audience. I think I'm going to need to fix this. And this is how I plan to fix it. But I think you can't ask those questions very lightly in architecture today. I do think it is changing because even in design, when you look at how people today are using AI, like especially to, eliminate all these redundant workflows that they have to do within architecture and interior design, I think it's phenomenal. I think AI is here to stay. And the sooner we see that, I think we'll all be successful.
All right, so that's the perfect place to begin the conversation because
Really?
I think that's true. It's here to stay. You can't work around it. It doesn't matter how much you love your current process. Doesn't matter how much you love your current timelines. It's all going to change. You're either
Mhm.
going to get on board with the changes or you're going to get left behind. And I think it's
Yeah.
going to happen much sooner than you might hope.
Yep.
So, what's the first thing we need to think about as we think about what's coming to the world of interior design and architecture because of AI? Where do you think we begin that conversation?
I think like there's different parts to AI, right? Like, so AI in design isn't just a single thing. It encompasses a few things. One is the generative nature of design. So the algorithms that are out there, how you can explore spatial permutations, because it's one, like, you already do that with Grasshopper and, all of these other tools that work with tools that I guess we do 3D design or even like plans with. There
Right.
are generative design algorithms that create those guardrails and constraints, whether it's site dimensions or solar exposure, or whether you're building in California and there's a certain code requirement that you need to keep in mind of. So I
Right.
think there's this notion of AI or that algorithm that already exists. It's just a matter of who in architecture and who in interior design is already adopting those constraints. I think the second part of this is computer vision, because there are there are tools like Matterport or Luma AI, and those basically scan an object or BIM recognition it has. So it has like this idea of making an existing 3D room, and you can sort of map out what that space looks like. All
Yeah.
of that is like sort of AI related. And then you have what we use today, NLP, natural language processing, which is how users are going to now just simply describe a space, whether it's in plain English or you have AI generate a great prompt and then you take it to it and you talk about the design you're looking for, or
Mhm.
maybe you're trying to generate a mood board, or maybe you're trying to do a quick mock-up of what a panel's going to possibly look like or a window arrangement's going to look like. But you have a theme, like you want it to be Japanese and minimalist. So I think um, that's already being used in very
Mhm.
different ways. It's also removing this barrier where earlier you would have to go to an interior designer to sort of understand how you wanted to remodel your kitchen. Today, there's
Right.
no such, there's no barrier for me. Like if I didn't know how to do 3D modeling, there are many ways for me to, it's made it very, I guess, it accommodates this use case where users who don't go to school for design can still design things. And I
Well,
think
what you're
it's
saying
enormous.
is our clients can design a kitchen now. They don't need us
They
for that.
can.
That's
Yeah.
probably true.
Yeah.
And I hope you're gonna tell us why we don't need to be afraid of that, because
Oh,
for
yeah.
some people they're going, wait, what? No. But I want to touch back on this point. I have a home in LA, and we recently had these bad fires, and we lost
Oh,
big
wow.
portions of, like, right out my window. I can see Pacific Palisades in Malibu, and they're gone. Like,
Mhm.
portions are gone. Previously, we would have had to hire multiple experts to get to the point where we're ready to build. And the fact
Mhm.
of the matter is, people are going to be ready to build in
Yeah.
months. And one thing I witnessed myself with AI is we were trying to figure out a mock-up for one of the lots that had been burned out.
Mhm.
And the mock-up came back with trees that would have been typical in Malibu, but they're all gone. So it
Ah,
took seconds to say, there are no trees. Can you come up with some fast landscape that makes it feel not, naked? And
right.
it took minutes. And it
Unbelievable.
was unbelievable. I'm like, oh, wow. That would have meant some landscape architect who would then have to get their team to come and measure and tour the site. And it was done. It was
Oh,
pretty
that's
shocking to
amazing.
me.
That's actually, I mean,
Um,
such a, it actually is such a nice story because I think
Not
this
if you're
is
a
where,
landscape architect, it's not.
I know, for a landscape
Yeah,
architect.
come on, help me out here.
No, but I feel like,
Yeah.
when I'm talking about this, when I say it's a wonderful story, I mean, like usually the way that would progress, right? I would go and hunt this down. I would go and find out what will grow in this, I guess, in this land that's
Right.
already been burnt and what's going to grow fastest. And, how am I going to pre-populate that land?
Yeah.
Um, I would have done all this research, but that's like work that intelligence has already done for me. Should I
Mhm.
be spending my time imagining how I want to lay out those trees versus should I be spending my time sourcing those materials or
Right.
understanding what grows there? So I
Right.
feel like that's where the architect or the interior designer or even a landscape designer in this case comes in because that's I get the heart, like a heartbeat factor or a soul factor, which I don't think AI can even master today. And it
Right.
probably won't for a little while. But I don't think the purpose of AI has come to replace any of us in this. Like, that's the interesting thing. I can, I vouch for it because I was a skeptic. Definitely not a skeptic anymore because I think this role is going to keep evolving, right? Like, as a designer, your role is evolving today. Like, AI is going to automate all the things that you would do that was repetitive or redundant, like
Yeah.
you're drafting code compliant egress paths, like those kind of things you shouldn't be spending in, like, your, I guess, like you can automate those kind of experiences and optimize those layouts,
Yeah.
especially when you can spend your creative energy elsewhere. And I
Uh-huh.
think, like, junior designers, whether you're an architect, landscape designer, or an interior designer, I think understanding that technique of data tagging or prompting or generative design constraints that you can set up for, like, let's say within if I was in Populous, like, you'd set up constraints for concourses and you set that up and it would scale so much faster within teams versus you having to set up the constraints manually each time for every, I guess, football stadium. Like, just, like, those design constraints can be automated. And,
Yeah.
like, instead of spending 3 days or 3 weeks, redrawing a
Mhm.
section that's probably the same kind of section that goes into multiple stadiums. I think, like, staff
Yeah.
should start understanding how, you know, that learning factor, right? Like that design reasoning, like
Yeah.
storytelling is important. How are you going to align with your stakeholders? Those are going to be skills that are going to be far more important than just doing smaller things like,
Iterations.
yeah,
And yeah. No, I hear you. I personally can't figure out how I would ever need a junior designer again, because these most of the tasks that we would give a junior designer are tasks that I can get with AI better and faster.
yeah,
Um, So I think we're going to see the size of firms change.
I think
And
so. And I think like you said it rightly. It's not even about leaving behind the junior designer. It's what kind of designer are you going to get? Like,
yeah,
I think every junior designer has like the greatest opportunity of their lifetime right now. Like upskilling is going to be imperative, right? If they
yeah,
don't integrate AI into the way they work, yes, at that point, yeah, you get replaced. But I think being open to finding that, I guess it's a singular path for everyone. Like for me, there's a way I work with AI on a daily. Like for me, it's efficiency. How am I going to be most efficient? Where is my energy best spent? And where can I add greater value? Whether it means like maybe at one point I didn't spend time in code, but now I do. I'm
hmm
curious. I don't
yeah,
think I would have had that curiosity earlier. I think the
yeah,
curiosity came because of this. And I think that's wonderful. Like um, there's no like guardrails of what you can and cannot do because there's access to everything at this point because of AI. So I
yeah.
think that role is just being redefined and being, I guess, open to the fact that, you may not be bucketed and doing the same thing you did last year.
Right.
I think it's okay. I think it's a wonderful thing that you're getting to explore something else, versus having to do the same thing for 40 years in your career. So I think it's a wonderful thing.
I think our business models are going to have to change,
Oh,
for
100%.
the people who are working on an hourly fee, unless you're
Mhm.
planning on, increasing the volume of the number of customers you're serving significantly. And I mean, in a massive way, scaling.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be more of a flat fee. Um, this is what I need to make in order to take this project on. And you're
yeah,
going to use all the AI tools you can possibly think of to create the best efficiency and make sure that you're running a profitable firm. I don't see any way
100%.
around that.
Oh, 100%. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, like I haven't touched these tools recently, but I read about this where, it's not like like we use BIM applications or CAD workflows to like actually deliver drawings, but
Mhm.
tools like, I guess, Revit, Dynamo, they're already using scripting. They're already using Python. So they are already semi-automating what that geometry generation would be, or if you
Yeah.
can early on catch like a clash in design, or like this is not going to fit, but you can catch that so early on. I think it's already benefiting like firms, and I think the sooner firms see that, I guess, see the adoption helping them, the better off they will be, because there are a lot of things you can customize too, right? Like now with this. AI agents is like the new craze. Like everyone's using it. And I guess like building agents that help them personally. I think you can also do that with, I don't know how you would do that currently with architecture, but there are ways that if I think about it, I can probably answer. Like maybe like with 3D models, right? Like maybe I'm trying to create an agent that's going to help me map all the carbon footprint, like carbon impact of all the materials I'm buying today or sourcing for this project. And if I'm sourcing it from this place, tell me what's my carbon impact right now. I think the minute someone this is not pertinent to just architecture, right? Like even in tech, if you use AI as a separate tool, it's it's not going to help you as much. It will help. It just won't help enough. I think using it as a collaborative tool, uh, that's when it becomes like that intelligence layer, and it automatically gets embedded into what you're doing and what you're already doing. So at that point, it's just elevating you. It's not replacing you. But the minute you look at it like, oh, it's the separate tool that's going to do such and such thing, then you are replacing it with you are getting yourself replaced.
Okay, explain to us what AI agents are. What do you mean by that?
So like with AI agents, like let's say you can build a tool or an agent on the side which will help you monitor. For example, let's just take the carbon footprint, right? Like, let's say I'm sourcing material from a select few people, or I guess stores out there, and all of this material is reaching me at a certain amount of time. I put all these constraints in order. The agent's aware of it. I also try and understand how much my building's going to need at this point in time. But let's say some of the material, whether it's sand or, if I'm doing landscape work, let's say I've also bought these plants and I bought it in the summer. There is a climate constraint of how long I'm actually going to wait till I actually plant those trees or plant those plants in my lot per se. the agent can give you answers on how long you should wait or when you should order or how much you should order based on the area footprint.
Yeah.
Whether these plants will even work in a climate situation here. Whether, because now you're also putting the constraints of today's climate. Like, for example, in California, in the how many years have I been here? About 8 years now. 8 years, I have seen the climate change. Like, I've not had the same summer every year. It's gotten
Yeah.
different and different
Right.
and hotter and hotter. So it has changed a lot. So understanding how that climate has changed and evolved versus living off of data that is not updated is also hurting us, right? Like, and AI
Yeah.
agents help you stay current with that data. So
Well, and if I create let's say I've got these AI agents and I think of it like they're kind of trained to know what I need,
exactly.
but that information is now available to everybody who,
That's not always true, right? Like, there are ways that
oh,
you can keep it private, but I
how?
do think being
Tell me how, tell me how, tell me how.
I
Don't
think
go
there are
anywhere.
ways
Wait,
to
tell
work.
me how.
So there are ways to work around that. Like, I think with agents, yes, it's sort of working off a data model that's vast, like large data sets that are out there, right? And it's feeding
Yeah.
off it, permutating off it, and giving you answers and curating what your experience should be or what your answer should be. I think the way all of these, like OpenAI and Gemini, like, Google, all of them are trying to work towards an agent flow where they're sensitive to what data they pick. And I think, yeah, today I don't think we are still there where data security might be fantastic. I don't think so. And I want to believe we're getting there because I do see changes in data models, right? They talk about how much security has changed within this. And OpenAI and Sam Altman's like honest about it. He brings it up in a lot of his talks where he's like,
Mhm.
people share all this private information about themselves and they don't know some of it can be used against them in court. So some of it, I think being aware, it's super critical when you're using AI, but
Yeah.
also knowing how you can use it carefully. Like, there are ways to work in private. There are certain things you shouldn't work in private for, because if I want to source data like this to understand climate or understand what the land is like in Pasadena or in Altadena, like I need to I need source data. I can't work with just private data at that point, right? Like, so there's certain questions you ask when you do deep research and you are asking larger models, but I think there's certain things you can curate and make sure it's custom for you and your needs, because all of these agents also learn of your, I guess, your intelligence, right? It's curating um, everything about Kimberly, and it's telling, okay, Kimberly, you did this in, I guess, in Pasadena a couple of years ago, but today the climate's different. Like, I don't
Right.
think this will work today. And the soil is very harmed and burnt right now. So this is what you should grow. This is what will till the soil like the best today. Like,
Right.
I feel like, I think agents are getting to a point where it will help like that, which I think is phenomenal. And yes, there is a concern for, being trustworthy. Like, that's what I say. Like, in product, we always go after the MVP and we're all like, oh, let's just build a viable design out there. I don't think we're at that point today. It worked like even last year, I would say. But today, I think we're at a point where we have to build something trustworthy or
Mm.
even like competitive, because one, speed is very easy. Everyone can be fast. And there's no dirt about speed now. But trustworthy is going to be super critical. Like, building something that's going to be trusted by your user, whether it's a client that you're working with, is going to be important, because that's something AI can't replace. AI has
Yeah.
to work with to build that trust. So I
I
think design's going to change
Do
like that.
are you optimistic about that? I feel somewhat pessimistic about that. I have been disappointed by the people, the companies that own social media, and we've certainly seen some very poor behavior coming out of Grok.
Oh, you think
Uh,
so? Oh, wow. I
oh,
haven't actually used Grok as much
no,
myself.
I don't think I would
I'm
use Grok
curious.
either. No, it's been in the news a lot. Yeah, you put in a random search for blueberries and it tells you that Hitler was kind of misunderstood. It's like,
Oh,
oops,
wow.
sorry, our bad.
That is
So I think
crazy.
trustworthiness is a real problem. And I guess the bottom line is if you're planning on committing a crime, don't discuss it with
Yeah.
OpenAI.
Oh,
You,
yeah.
you might want to take that one under wraps. Yeah.
Exactly. Take
But
that to
for
Google.
our purposes for interior design, yeah, it's probably
That is
safe
hilarious.
that we're asking about egress. we're asking about egress patterns in a home
Yeah.
or whatever.
I mean, like that's a good segue because like imagine prefabrication, right? Like
Yeah.
AI would now they can help you cluster those components for,
Yeah.
any offsite modular construction, whether I can probably feed it. Um, let's say I used 3 shapes of concrete, lightweight concrete porous blocks, and I built maybe a couple of homes. And now I have half of that quantity left behind and wasted. Help me, what can I do with this waste? Like, optimization, like for prefabrication, is going to be critical, whether it's supply chain intelligence, right? Like AI can now match your intent. Like, let's say you have the intent of, like building eco-friendly homes, or like you want to be in a hot climate, but you don't want to spend money on HVAC. That's where like AI helps you match design with intent. Like it comes up with ways that you can make it work. And there is that skill that us as humans have. But I think when it comes to edge cases and surmounting, like, making sure your design is got the guardrail that it needs to make sure it doesn't miss a thing, AI helps that. That's where AI will come and support you. It's a supportive thing. It's not something that you fully rely on. I'm not saying give up on this design, like as a builder or a fabricator. I'm not saying this is your AI moment and forget about designing yourself and just rely on it. But I think using it, for example, on site, like robotics, for example, an AI guided layout projection versus someone who's going, I remember in India, and this is like many years ago, and we would like draw chalk lines on site. Like it's like that. And don't get me wrong, it still is like that in a lot of cases. But I think this notion of autonomous bricklaying or, guided layout that can be projected on, the ground, all of that, or even robotic drywall, right? Like, I read about that recently where there's, drywall can be finished on walls because robots are able to do it. Those are kind of things that speed up that delivery, which I think is a fantastic thing, right? Like, I mean, if I can go back and within a span of a year, if I'm doing 5 projects, now I can do 10 because there's
Yeah.
a lot that I'm having to relinquish relinquish time on. Like, I'm not having to spend time doing it.
Mhm.
And it's not about the AI being smarter on the job site at this point. It just needs to be smarter before I pour that concrete. Like before I pour the concrete and that first slab, if I have all the power and then I let someone else relinquish the power to do that, I'm saving my bandwidth to like spend the time elsewhere and probably jump into another project, which I think is an interesting way to also look at it.
Yeah. Or not jump into a project, but have more time off. Like
I
maybe
know.
I'm take
Don't
Fridays
we
off.
all want that?
That elusive 4-day work week is finally a thing that's going to happen. Like
Yeah.
who knows? Like we're on the cusp of something, and we just have such little information at this point.
Yeah.
So how can we stay current? Because it feels like week to week, it's a completely different game. Like the improvements are happening so rapidly.
Yeah. Very true. And this is how I look at it too. Like last year, I would say if you compared Nithya from 2024 to
Wow.
compare Nithya to 2025, there are there's like 60% about Nithya from 2024 that I don't recognize. And
Yeah.
I don't say that in a sad way. Like I say that I think it's a lot of growth that happened. Just me as a designer, I feel like it happened because of AI literacy and understanding and not being like, I guess, not being a skeptic. It changed my skepticism on usage and things like that. And I didn't turn to AI to, like, I guess I didn't go to AI to do some of the work I was doing. I went to it to learn very curated tasks like prompt engineering, like for visual codes, because I love creating like images and stuff like that. Like, how do I integrate it today to make the camera angle work, or, make texture perfect, or light sourcing, or, modify that image generation? So learning prompt engineering for even an interior designer per se would be so critical, because there are a lot of things you can get done quicker and test faster with your users, especially with a client who's looking for, let's say, 4 options, right? And I remember like we'd always try to narrow that down right at the get-go. But let's say they're looking for many options, and testing with these visual tools is going to be a game changer. or
Mhm.
exploring how parametric design works. Or, like right now you already have parametric design with Revit or even Grasshopper and Rhino. Like you already have those, but like exploring it further because AI boosts the way parametric plugins even behave today. So I think being open to how your existing workflows can be supported, not replaced,
Right.
and getting comfortable with the idea that AI literacy and like, talking to an AI agent for idea generation or sourcing, even writing a client report, right? Like all of that is
Yeah.
work that you don't have to spend. Like today, if you sit to write that report, you will spend like a couple of hours and make sure it's perfect. But there's a lot of that automated workflow that can happen with AI, and probably AI will do it almost flawlessly in certain levels, right? Like you may miss something, but AI will step in and configure it. Or I remember using Grammarly a couple of years ago for this, like where I'd be like, come on, spell check, make sure it's all perfect. Like, go
Yeah.
in and like make those cross my T's, dot my I's, make it perfect.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think like now with AI, you're not necessarily only leaning on Grammarly. There are things that AI can, maybe you'll feed it a different report. You'll say, the last two reports look like this. Make sure this report is following the same format. Reformat
Yeah.
all this information. Make sure it follows that format. There are things like that you can automate. And I think the next generation, like I wouldn't even say next generation, I want to say this generation of design.
Now. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
It's
it's too
like
late if
having a
it's the next generation.
secretary. It feels like those, like the 1950s where you had a secretary. Like I do feel like I have a secretary.
Yeah.
Like I've got,
Exactly.
this
Because
is my
now
font. This is how big I want it. Please remember this for me. And it's like, okay, nice tip.
yeah. And it's
The only
also
thing
like,
I haven't
like,
figured out is what it should call me. Do
oh,
you have,
really?
you may, okay, two really burning questions. How do you refer to OpenAI or AI? Like, it's like too hard to say, I was talking to GPT chat or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a nickname? My girlfriend calls it Chatty. I
Oh,
just use
Patty?
chat. Yeah. Do you have a name for it?
We
Chatty.
actually don't have a name, but now
I'm shocked.
I'm convinced I need to have one.
I know, right? And what does it call you?
If it has to call me something, I'd say call me Nithya, and it does for the, like, like I have this custom one built where I remember a couple of months ago when I was, looking for jobs myself, I had an agent build that would help me practice for an interview. So I had set up the agent to like ask me questions. So it would always address me as Nithya. So I
My
wouldn't
God,
mind it
that's
calling me Nithya.
amazing. I experimented with your Royal Highness, but it just didn't feel authentic. That just doesn't work for me. So
Oh, I
I
would
gotta
love
keep
that
working
actually.
on it.
I might steal that one.
Yeah, I have more questions than time, but I think at least we touched on the topic.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was really important. We like to end every episode with design intervention. There's a great
Cool.
piece of business advice that you want to leave everybody with.
I think like one is I want everyone to know that AI is not here to replace you. I think that's one of the biggest things. I think understanding that this big shift that I see it happening over the next 3 or 4 years, and it's already started. Okay, this is not something that's going to happen after 5 years, but AI is going to move beyond this visualization and actual recommendation as an engine. It's going to suggest not just what looks good, but it's going to suggest to you what performs well. And all of that is going to be super big and important for architects and interior designers because it's going to have sensor data. It's going to help you create homes that, you know, occupants can now adapt with, like, whether it's lighting, acoustics, spatial reconfiguration. It's going to have all this integration in it. I think the future is not where AI designs spaces, where AI is only designing spaces. It's human designed, yes, but it's AI informed. So it's
Yeah.
AI orchestrated. And I think it's going to continuously learn and evolve. And being open to that is going to be critical. And I think like honing in your actual empathy, your actual human skills, and making it work with AI is going to make you one up everything around you. So I think, I think adoption is going to be critical.
Oh, thank you so much. That was really helpful. I'm happy you didn't tell us that we're all going to be unemployed. That's great. I didn't
I
want to hear.
100% disagree. And I've never disagreed with that more.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Of course.